When a debt becomes a diamond ring. The blade was cold against her throat. Not sharp enough to cut, not yet, but close enough that Alara Vance could taste metal in her mouth. The enforcer's breath reeked of cigarettes, and something darker. "Your father's got 48 hours, he whispered, "or we start taking pieces." When the world of art and beauty collides with blood debts and shadowed empires, one woman's desperate choice will chain her to the most dangerous man alive, a man who doesn't believe in mercy, only ownership. This is a story of survival, deception, and the thin line between captivity and desire. Stay with me until the very end, hit that like button, and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The alley smelled like piss and wet cardboard, which wasn't unusual for this part of the city after dark, but Alara Vance barely noticed anymore. She'd walked this route 100 times, maybe more, cutting through the narrow passage between the shuttered Korean grocery and the back of the old theater because it shaved 5 minutes off her commute from the university library. 5 minutes mattered when you were 22 broke, and your father drank through the grocery money faster than you could earn it, restocking shelves at the campus bookstore. Her canvas tote bag dug into her shoulder, heavy with borrowed textbooks about Italian Renaissance painters, and the symbolism of light in Caravaggio's work. Beautiful stuff. Useless stuff, her father called it, but Alara didn't care. Art history was the only thing that made sense in a world that had stopped making sense around the time her mother packed 2 suitcases and left without saying goodbye. That was 6 years ago. The hole never closed. She was thinking about Caravaggio's use of shadow when the footsteps started behind her. Not casual footsteps, purposeful ones, the kind that matched your pace when you slowed down, that sped up when you did. Alara's throat tightened. She wasn't naive. She'd lived in this neighborhood long enough to know what danger sounded like, but knowing didn't make her less afraid. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her bag and she walked faster, her sneakers scuffing against cracked pavement. The alley stretched ahead, darker than it should be because someone had smashed the overhead light again. 30 more feet, 20. She could see the glow of the street beyond, the traffic lights cycling from red to green, indifferent. Alara Vance. Her name. They said her name. She stopped. Stupid maybe, but her legs made the decision before her brain caught up. Slowly, she turned. 2 men. Both broad-shouldered, both wearing dark jackets that looked too heavy for the mild October night. The one on the left had a scar that split his eyebrow in half, pale and puckered. The one on the right was younger, maybe 30, with the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You know who we are?" Scarface asked. His voice was flat, bored even, like he'd had this conversation 1,000 times. "No." Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. She cleared her throat. "Should I?" The younger one laughed. It wasn't a nice sound. "Your old man sure does." Her stomach dropped. "What do you want?" "Not what we want, sweetheart. What we're owed." Scarface took a step closer. Not aggressive, not yet, but deliberate. "Your daddy's into some people for a lot of money. 60 grand. You know about that? $60,000. The number hit her like a fist. Alara's father was a drunk and a liar and a disappointment, but she'd thought his gambling was small time. Betting on football games with his buddies at the bar. Scratch-offs from the gas station. Not this. Never this. I don't know anything about that." "Yeah, well, ignorance ain't gonna pay the debt." The younger one pulled something from his jacket pocket. For one terrible second, Alara thought it was a gun, but it was just a phone. He tapped the screen, turned it toward her. "See that? That's your address, your work schedule, your route home." He tilted his head, almost friendly. "We know everything, Alara. Where you go, who you talk to. We even know about your little scholarship. Art history, right? Smart girl." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world narrowed to the blue glow of the phone screen and the weight of their attention on her skin. "Your father's got 48 hours to come up with the money," Scarface said. "After that, interest starts accruing. 10%. Daily." "That's insane. That's the deal." He shrugged. "Or maybe we start collecting in other ways. You're a pretty girl. Healthy. Could be worth something." The younger one grinned wider. "Could be worth a lot." Alara's hands were shaking. She shoved them into her jacket pockets so they wouldn't see. "I don't have that kind of money. Neither does he." "Then you better figure something out." Scarface stepped back, casual as anything, like they'd just been discussing the weather. 48 hours, Alara. Clock's ticking. They walked away. Just like that. Left her standing in the alley with her heart hammering so hard she thought it might crack a rib. She didn't move until their footsteps faded completely, until the silence swallowed her whole. When she finally made it home, a cramped second-floor apartment above a laundromat that never stopped running, her father was exactly where she expected him to be. Passed out on the couch, an empty whiskey bottle on the floor beside him, the TV playing some late-night infomercial about knives that could cut through a shoe. Alara stood in the doorway and looked at him. The man who used to carry her on his shoulders at the county fair. The man who taught her how to ride a bike and told her she could be anything she wanted. That man was gone. Hollowed out. Replaced by this husk who reeked of booze and broken promises. She wanted to scream at him, shake him awake and demand answers. Instead, she walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, and sat at the wobbly table that had been her mother's, back when this place still felt like a home. $60,000. 48 hours. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts. She had $213 in her checking account. Her credit card was maxed out from textbooks. She didn't have friends with money, didn't have family who gave a damn. Her thumb hovered over a name she hadn't called in months, Luca DeLuca. Her best friend since sophomore year of high school, back when they were both weird kids who didn't fit in, him because his family had money and a reputation that made people nervous, her because she spent lunch breaks in the art room instead of the cafeteria. Luca was good, kind in a way that felt rare. He'd helped her move into this shithole apartment when her mom left. Bought her groceries when things got tight, always casual about it, never making her feel small. But Luca couldn't fix this. 60 grand wasn't the kind of problem you solved by asking your college buddy for a loan. There was someone else, though. Someone Luca had mentioned exactly once in a voice that went quiet and careful. Ronan DeLuca, Luca's older brother. Alara had never met him, never even seen a picture. But she'd heard the stories, everyone had. Ronan DeLuca was the kind of name people whispered in bars, the kind of man who owned half the city without ever showing up on a tax record. He ran things, not businesses, empires, and not the legal kind. Luca didn't talk about him much. When he did, it was with a mix of respect and something that looked a lot like fear. Alara stared at her phone until the screen went dark. Then she texted Luca. "I need to talk to your brother." The response came faster than she expected. "Which one?" She almost laughed. "Almost. The one who scares you." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "What happened?" "Can't explain over text. Please, Luca, I need help." The dots blinked for a long time, then, "I'll call you in 5. He called in 3. "Alara, what the hell is going on?" Luca's voice was tight, worried. In the background, she could hear music, voices. He was at a party, probably. Normal 22-year-old stuff. "My dad owes money to some people. Bad people. They came to see me tonight." "Jesus." A pause. "How much?" 60,000. Luca sucked in a breath. That's... I know. You can't go to Ronan. You don't know what you're asking." "I'm asking for help," she said, and hated how her voice cracked. "I'm asking because I don't have anywhere else to go." Silence. Long enough that she thought he might have hung up, then quietly. "He doesn't do favors, Alara. Everything has a price." "I'll pay it." "You don't even know what it is yet." "Doesn't matter." And that was the truth. The cold, desperate truth. She'd pay anything to keep those men from coming back. Anything to keep her father alive, even if he didn't deserve it. Luca exhaled slowly. "I'll make a call. But listen to me. If he agrees to see you, you need to be smart. Don't lie to him. Don't try to play games. He'll see right through it. Okay? I'm serious. He's not like other people. He doesn't operate on the same rules." "I understand." Another pause, then softer. "I'll text you an address. If he says yes, someone will pick you up tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. "Thank you, Luca." "Don't thank me yet." The line went dead. Alara sat in the dim kitchen, listening to the washing machines thrum through the floor, and waited. Her father snored in the next room. The TV droned on. Somewhere in the city, men she'd never met were deciding whether she lived or died, whether she was worth the trouble or just another loose end to tie off. At 2:47 a.m., her phone buzzed. "He'll see you." Black car. 8 p.m. Don't be late. She didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Just sat by the window and watched the street below, waiting for dawn to break through the darkness. When her father finally woke up around noon, groggy and disoriented, Alara was waiting. She'd made coffee, set a cup in front of him. "We need to talk," she said. He rubbed his face, squinting against the daylight. "About what?" "About the $60,000 you owe to people who showed up in an alley last night and threatened me." The color drained from his face. For a second he looked like he might deny it, spin some story, but then his shoulders sagged. He looked old, used up. "I was going to handle it," he said. "How?" "I don't know. I was working on it." "You don't have a job, Dad. You don't have anything." She kept her voice level, but her hands were fists under the table. "They said 48 hours. That was last night. So we've got 1 day left." "Elle, I'm sorry." "I don't want sorry. I want to know how this happened." He stared into his coffee like it held answers. "Started small, couple bets here and there. Then I hit a bad streak, tried to win it back, and it just kept getting worse. I thought I could fix it. I really did." "You thought wrong." He flinched. "Good. Let him hurt." "I'm meeting with someone tonight," Alara said. "Someone who might be able to help." "Who?" "You don't need to know." "Alara?" "You lost the right to ask questions when you put a target on my back." She stood, dumped her untouched coffee into the sink. "Stay here. Don't go anywhere. Don't drink. Don't do anything stupid." "What are you going to do?" She didn't answer, just grabbed her jacket and walked out. The day crawled. Alara went through the motions, class, work, library, but none of it felt real. She kept seeing those men in the alley, kept hearing the younger one's voice. Could be worth a lot. By the time 7:30 rolled around, her nerves were so frayed she thought she might snap. She changed clothes 3 times before settling on jeans and a dark sweater. Nothing fancy. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. At 7:55, she stood on the curb outside her building, watching the street. At exactly 8 o'clock, a black sedan pulled up. The windows were tinted dark enough that she couldn't see inside. The back door opened. Alara got in. The man behind the wheel didn't look at her, didn't speak, just pulled into traffic and drove. The interior smelled like leather and something faintly metallic. There was no music, no conversation, just the hum of the engine and the city sliding past outside. They drove for 20 minutes, leaving the cramped streets of her neighborhood behind, crossing into a part of town where the buildings got taller and the lights got brighter. Old money. New power. The kind of place where people like Alara didn't exist unless they were serving drinks or cleaning floors. The car turned down a private drive, passed through a gate that opened without the driver touching anything, and stopped in front of a house that looked more like a fortress. Stone and steel and glass, all sharp angles and cold edges. Lights glowed behind curtains, but the place felt empty. Haunted. The driver got out, opened her door. "This way." She followed him up wide steps, through a front door that was heavy enough to stop a tank. Inside, the air was cooler. The floors were polished marble, the walls lined with art that probably cost more than her entire life. A chandelier hung overhead, dripping light like diamonds. "Wait here," the driver said, and disappeared down a hallway. Alara stood in the foyer and tried not to look as terrified as she felt. Her reflection stared back at her from a mirror on the wall, pale, wide-eyed, small. She looked like a kid playing dress-up in a world that would eat her alive. Footsteps. Not the driver's. These were slower, heavier. A man appeared at the top of the staircase, Ronan DeLuca. He was tall. That was the first thing she noticed. Tall and built like someone who didn't need a gun to make you nervous. Dark hair, dark eyes, a jaw sharp enough to cut. He wore a black shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, and even from across the room, Alara could see the ink that covered his forearms, patterns and symbols she didn't recognize. He didn't smile, didn't offer a greeting, just looked at her the way you'd look at a problem you hadn't decided how to solve yet. "Alara Vance." His voice was low, rough around the edges. Not loud, but it filled the space anyway. "Yes. You're Luca's friend." I am. He came down the stairs, slow and deliberate, and stopped a few feet away. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Not because he was trying to be, that was the worst part. He just was. My brother said you need help. I do. Tell me. So she did. Told him about the alley, the men, the debt. Told him about her father and the 48 hours and the fear that sat in her chest like a stone. She didn't cry, didn't beg, just laid it out plain and simple, because Luca had said not to play games, and she believed him. When she finished, Ronan was quiet. He studied her the way someone might study a painting, looking for details, for flaws. 60,000, he said finally. Yes. That's not a small number. I know. And you want me to make it go away. It wasn't a question, but she answered anyway. Yes. Why would I do that? Her stomach twisted. I don't know. Luca said you might. Luca's soft. Not mean, just factual. He sees a friend in trouble. He wants to fix it. That's not how I operate. Then why did you agree to see me? His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. Curiosity. Elara's hands were shaking again. She shoved them into her pockets. Look, I don't have money. I don't have connections. I don't have anything you'd want. But I'm asking anyway, please. These people are going to hurt me. They're going to hurt my father, and I don't know what else to do. Ronan tilted his head slightly, considering. You go to school. Yes, art history. Useless degree. Probably. But you're smart. I try to be. And you're desperate. She swallowed hard. Yes. He nodded slowly, like she'd confirmed something he already knew. Then he walked past her toward a room off the foyer. Come. She followed. The room was an office. Dark wood, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a desk that looked like it weighed more than her car. Ronan moved behind it, poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter. He slid one across the desk toward her. Sit. She sat. Didn't touch the drink. Ronan leaned against the desk, arms crossed. I can make your problem disappear. Tonight, if I wanted. 1 phone call, and those men won't come near you again. Hope flared in her chest. You will? I didn't say that. His eyes were cold, dark, unreadable. I said I can. Whether I will depends on what you're offering in return. I told you I don't have money. Yeah, I heard you the first time. He picked up his glass, took a slow sip. But you've got something else. Her pulse spiked. What? Optics. I don't understand. Ronan set the glass down, straightened. I'm in the process of consolidating some business interests, legitimizing certain operations. That requires a specific kind of image, stable, respectable, the kind of man people trust with their investments. He paused. The kind of man who has a fiancé. Elara's brain stuttered. What? I need someone to play the part, show up at events, smile for cameras, convince the world that Ronan DeLuca is a man who's settled down. He said it like he was discussing a grocery list. You'd live here, wear the ring, follow the script. You're asking me to fake an engagement. I'm offering you a solution. That's insane. That's the deal. She stared at him, trying to process, trying to find the angle, the trick. For how long? 6 months? Maybe a year? Depends how things play out. And after that? After that, we part ways, quiet, clean, no drama. What if I say no? His expression didn't change. Then you walk out of here, and whatever happens to you and your father happens. Not my problem. Elara's throat was dry. She picked up the glass he'd poured, took a sip. It burned going down. Why me? You're nobody, no connections, no history, no complications. You're exactly what I need. That's not flattering. It's not meant to be. He moved around the desk, leaned against the edge so he was closer. Not threatening, just present. You want honesty? Here it is. This is a transaction. I solve your problem. You solve mine. No feelings, no expectations beyond what's in the contract. There's a contract. There will be. She should have said no. Should have stood up and walked out and figured out another way. But there was no other way. Not really. The men in the alley weren't going to forget. Her father wasn't going to suddenly develop a conscience or $60,000. This was it, the only option. If I say yes, she said slowly, what happens to my dad? His debt gets wiped completely, and he gets put somewhere he can't fuck up again. What does that mean? Rehab. Real rehab. The kind that doesn't let you leave until you're clean. Ronan's voice was firm. He stays there as long as it takes. That's non-negotiable. And me? You move in here, tonight. We announce the engagement within the week. You attend every event I tell you to attend. You smile. You play the role. And you don't ask questions about my business. What if I do? Then the deal's off. Alara looked around the room. At the books she'd never read, the art she'd never afford, the life she'd never touch unless she said yes. Her whole body was screaming at her to run, but her brain knew better. Running didn't solve anything. Running just meant dying slower. Okay, she said. Ronan's eyes narrowed. Okay, what? I'll do it. Say it clearly. She met his gaze, held it. I'll be your fiancé. Something flickered across his face. Satisfaction, maybe? Or just recognition that he'd won. He straightened, walked to the door, called out. Marcus! The driver appeared. Take Mr. Vance to the facility. Tonight. Make sure he gets there safely. Yes, sir. Ronan looked back at Alara. Your father will be fine. You have my word. Your word. She almost laughed. I don't even know you. You will. And that was the part that scared her most. Because he said it like a promise, like a threat, like something inevitable. Marcus left. Ronan pulled out his phone, made a call. She couldn't hear what he said, but his voice was clipped, efficient. When he hung up, he turned to her. The men who came to see you, they won't bother you again. Just like that? Just like that? Who were they working for? Does it matter? I'd like to know. He smiled. It wasn't warm. You just asked a question about my business. Alara's stomach dropped. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... Relax. You get one. Everyone does. He poured himself another drink. They were working for a loan shark named Petey Costa, small-time operator, thinks he's bigger than he is. I'll have a conversation with him. After that, your name won't come up again. What kind of conversation? The kind that ends with understanding. She didn't push. Didn't want to know. Ronan drained his glass. You'll sleep in the east wing, second door on the left. Your things will be brought over tomorrow. I didn't agree to move in tonight. You agreed to the deal. The deal starts now. He moved toward the door, paused. There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry. Staff will be here in the morning. Don't wander. Don't touch anything in my office. And don't try to leave. Why not? Because you're mine now. And I protect what's mine. He walked out. Alara sat in the chair, alone in the enormous house, and tried to remember how to breathe. Her phone buzzed. A text from Luca. You okay? She stared at the screen, thought about what to say, thought about lying. I think I just sold my soul. What did he ask for? She typed the answer, deleted it, typed it again. Everything. Luca didn't respond. Maybe he didn't know how. Alara stood, walked to the window. Outside, the city glittered like broken glass. Somewhere out there, her father was being driven to rehab. Somewhere out there, men who'd threatened her were getting a visit from Ronan's people. And here she was, in a house that felt like a museum, engaged to a man who looked at her like she was a tool, not a person. She pressed her forehead against the cool glass and closed her eyes. This was survival. That's what she told herself. This was the price of staying alive. But deep down, in the part of her that still believed in art and beauty and things that mattered, she wondered if staying alive was worth it. Her phone buzzed again. He'll keep his word. He always does. But Elle, be careful. Ronan doesn't lose. Ever. She didn't reply. Just stood there in the dark, wearing a ring she hadn't been given yet, bound to a man she didn't know, and wondered how long it would take before she forgot who she used to be. Somewhere in the house, a door closed. Footsteps echoed. Then silence. Alara opened her eyes. The city stared back, cold and indifferent, and in the reflection of the glass, she saw herself, small and pale and alone, standing in a fortress that was already starting to feel like a cage. Alara woke to silence so complete it felt like drowning. No car horns, no sirens, no muffled arguments bleeding through thin walls or the constant groan of washing machines grinding through the floor. Just silence, thick and suffocating, broken only by her own breathing. For a disorienting moment, she forgot where she was. Then the ceiling came into focus, high, pristine white, with crown molding that probably cost more than a semester's tuition, and it all came rushing back. The deal. The ring she didn't have yet. The man who owned outcomes. She sat up. The bed was enormous, the sheets some thread count she'd only read about in magazines. Sunlight filtered through curtains that looked like they'd been spun from silk. Everything in the room was expensive and impersonal. A hotel designed by someone who'd never had to care about comfort. Her phone sat on the nightstand. 6:47 a.m. 3 missed calls from Luca. 1 text from a number she didn't recognize. Clothes in the closet. Breakfast at 8. Don't be late. R. She stared at the message. No good morning. No, hope you slept well. Just orders. Like she was staff. Alara threw back the covers and immediately regretted it. The room was cold. Not freezing, but enough to make her skin prickle. She found the closet, a walk-in the size of her entire bedroom back home, and stopped dead. Rows of clothes, dresses, slacks, blouses, all in her size, tags still on. Expensive labels she recognized from window shopping she'd never been able to afford. At the far end, shoes. Heels mostly, arranged by color like some kind of obsessive-compulsive's fever dream. Jesus, she muttered. How did he even know her size? Had someone gone through her apartment? Measured her while she slept? The thought made her skin crawl. She grabbed the simplest thing she could find, black jeans, a cream sweater, and dressed quickly. No makeup. She hadn't brought any, and she wasn't about to dig through drawers looking for whatever had been provided. This wasn't her life. Not really. Just a role she was playing until she could figure out how to escape. Except there was no escape. That was the whole point. She found her way downstairs by following the smell of coffee. The house looked different in daylight. Less like a fortress, more like a mausoleum. Beautiful and cold and empty. Her footsteps echoed on marble floors. The kitchen was massive, all stainless steel and white quartz, the kind of space where you could feed an army. A woman stood at the stove, maybe 50, hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked up when Alara walked in. You're the fiancé. Not a question, statement of fact. I guess so. The woman studied her for a beat, then went back to whatever she was cooking. I'm Teresa. I run the house. You need something? You ask me. You want something changed? You ask me. You have a problem? You ask me. Okay. Mr. DeLuca takes his coffee black. 2 eggs, scrambled. Wheat toast, no butter. He eats at 8 sharp. You'll eat with him. I don't usually eat breakfast. Teresa looked at her like she'd just suggested setting the kitchen on fire. You'll eat with him. Alara opened her mouth to argue, then shut it. Pick your battles. That's what her mother used to say, back when her mother still said anything. Fine. Sit. She sat at the long dining table that could have seated 20. Teresa brought coffee, black, hot, bitter enough to strip paint, and disappeared back into the kitchen. Alara wrapped her hands around the mug and waited. Ronan appeared at exactly 8. He wore a suit today, charcoal gray, tailored so perfectly it looked like it had been built around him. His hair was still damp from a shower. He didn't look at her as he sat down at the head of the table, just pulled out his phone and started scrolling. Teresa brought plates. Eggs, toast, some kind of fruit Alara didn't recognize. She set Ronan's down first, then Alara's. Thank you, Alara said. Teresa nodded and left. Ronan ate in silence. Alara picked at her eggs, too nervous to actually taste anything. The clock on the wall ticked. The coffee was too hot. Her sweater itched. Your father arrived at the facility last night, Ronan said without looking up. He's being evaluated today. Is he okay? Define okay. Is he hurt? No. Can I talk to him? No. Ronan set his phone down, finally looked at her. He's there to get clean. That means no distractions, no contact until the doctors say otherwise. He's my father. He's a liability. Ronan's tone didn't change, still flat, still matter of fact. You want him to survive this? Let him do the work. Alara's jaw tightened. You could have told me that last night. I'm telling you now. You're telling me I don't get a say. You don't. He picked up his coffee, took a sip. You signed up for this. That means following the rules. I didn't sign anything. Metaphorically. Fuck your metaphors. The words were out before she could stop them. Ronan's eyes sharpened, and for a second she thought she'd crossed a line, but then his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, something darker. Careful, Ilara. Or what? Or you'll find out what happens when you forget your place. My place? She laughed, sharp and humorless. You mean the cage you bought me for 60 grand? He leaned back in his chair, studying her. You've got a mouth on you. Yeah, well, it's the only thing I've got left that's mine. Ronan didn't respond, just looked at her like he was deciding something. Then he stood, buttoned his jacket. We're going out tonight, dinner. There's a dress in your closet, black, knee length, wear that. What if I don't want to? Then you'll wear it anyway. He grabbed his phone, his keys. Car leaves at 7. Be ready. Where are we going? Does it matter? I'd like to know. He paused at the door. You're meeting people who need to believe we're real, so smile, be charming, and don't embarrass me. Then he was gone. Ilara sat alone at the table, staring at her half-eaten breakfast, and felt the walls close in. The day dragged. She tried to read. There were books in the library, thousands of them, but couldn't focus. Tried to watch TV, but everything felt fake. Finally, she ended up back in her room, staring at the dress Ronan had mentioned. It was beautiful, simple, elegant, the kind of thing she'd have killed to wear to a gallery opening back when she thought her degree might actually lead somewhere. Now it just felt like a costume. Her phone buzzed. Luca, can I come see you? She typed back immediately. Please, be there in an hour. When the doorbell rang, did this place even have a doorbell? Teresa answered it. Ilara heard voices, then footsteps. Luca appeared in the doorway of the library where she'd been pretending to read. He looked worried. More than worried. Scared. Hey, he said. Hey. He crossed the room, pulled her into a hug. She didn't realize how much she needed it until his arms were around her and she was fighting not to cry. You okay? He asked. No. Yeah, I figured. He pulled back, looked at her. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Elle. Not when men show up in an alley and tell you you're collateral. She moved to the window, looked out at the grounds. Your brother made me an offer. I took it. That's it. That's not it. Luca's voice was tight. You don't know what you just walked into. Then tell me. He ran a hand through his hair, the way he always did when he was stressed. He's not a bad guy. Not really. But he's dangerous, Ilara. He's built his whole life around control, around making sure nothing touches him, and now you're part of that. I'm not part of anything. This is temporary. You think that now. What's that supposed to mean? Luca looked at her for a long time. My brother doesn't let go of things. Once you're in his world, you don't just walk out. He said 6 months, maybe a year. He says a lot of things. Ilara's stomach twisted. Luca, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. He moved closer, lowered his voice. I love my brother, I do. But he's been through shit that broke him in ways I don't even understand. He doesn't trust anyone. Doesn't let anyone close. And the people he does let in, he owns them completely. I'm not his property. Aren't you? The question hung in the air like smoke. Ilara wanted to argue, to say he was wrong, but the words stuck in her throat. Because maybe Luca was right. Maybe the moment she said yes, she'd stopped being a person and become a thing. I'm sorry, Luca said quietly. I shouldn't have given him your message. I should have found another way to help you. There was no other way. There's always another way. He grabbed her hand, squeezed. But you're here now, so I'll do what I can. I'll keep an eye on things. Make sure he doesn't what? Luca's jaw tightened. Just be careful, okay? Don't push him too hard. Don't ask too many questions. And if things get bad, you call me. Define bad. He didn't answer. The front door opened, closed. Footsteps in the hall. Ronan's voice, low and sharp, talking to someone. Luca's whole body tensed. I should go, he said. Luca, I'll check on you tomorrow. He kissed her forehead, quick and brotherly. then headed for the door. In the hallway, he stopped. Ronan. Little brother. Ronan's tone was neutral. Didn't know you were stopping by. Just checking on Alara. She's fine. I wanted to see for myself. A pause. Then Ronan's voice, quieter. You have a problem with this arrangement? Do you care if I do? Not particularly. Then why ask? Another pause. Longer this time. Alara pressed herself against the wall, listening. She's your friend, Ronan said finally. I get that, but she's my responsibility now, which means you don't interfere. She's not a business deal, Ronan. Yes, she is. Jesus Christ, Luca's voice cracked. Do you hear yourself? Every word. She's a person, a good person, and you're using her. I'm protecting her. Ronan's tone sharpened. Those men who came after her? They worked for P.D. Costa, and P.D. works for Victor Salazar. You know what that means? Silence. It means your friend wasn't just caught in her father's mess. She was bait. Victor's been looking for leverage against me for months. He saw an opportunity and took it. Alara's blood went cold. Victor Salazar. She knew that name. Everyone did. If Ronan DeLuca was whispered about in shadows, Victor Salazar was screamed about in nightmares. You're saying they targeted her? Luca's voice was barely above a whisper. I'm saying she was already dead. She just didn't know it yet. And now? Now she's mine, which makes her untouchable. Footsteps. Luca walking away. The front door opened, closed, then silence. Alara's heart hammered. She forced herself to breathe, to think. Victor Salazar. Leverage. Bait. The pieces clicked together in a way that made her want to scream. Ronan appeared in the doorway. How much did you hear? Enough. He nodded. Didn't apologize. Didn't explain. Just looked at her the way he had last night, like she was a problem he was still deciding how to solve. You should start getting ready, he said. We leave in 3 hours. I'm not going. Yes, you are. You lied to me. Her voice shook. You said my father's debt. Your father's debt was real. So was the threat. I didn't lie about that. But you left out the part where I was being used as leverage against you. Would it have changed your answer? She wanted to say yes. Wanted to believe she'd have walked away if she'd known the whole truth. But the truth was, she'd been cornered, desperate, and Ronan had known it. You're a bastard, she said. I'm aware. I could leave. You could try. What's that supposed to mean? He stepped into the room, and suddenly the space felt smaller. It means Victor Salazar doesn't forget. It means if you walk out that door, you're signing your own death warrant, and your father's, and probably Luca's, just for being stupid enough to care about you. His eyes were hard, cold. So no, Alara. You can't leave, not anymore. She hated him. In that moment, she hated him more than she'd hated anyone in her entire life. But she also knew he was right. Get ready, Ronan said. 3 hours. He left. Alara stood in the library shaking and stared at her reflection in the window. The girl looking back was a stranger, pale, trapped, already starting to fade. She went upstairs, found the black dress. Put it on because what else was she going to do? It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Ronan didn't do anything halfway. At 6:55, she stood in the foyer, waiting. Her hands were clammy. Her stomach churned. Ronan came down the stairs at exactly 7, and for a second she forgot to breathe. He changed into a different suit. Black, perfectly tailored, he looked like money and violence wrapped in silk. He stopped in front of her, eyes traveling from her face to her dress and back. You'll do. Gee, thanks. I'm not trying to flatter you, I'm assessing. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Velvet, dark blue. Opened it. Inside was a ring, diamond, obscenely large. Give me your hand. She didn't move. Alara. This is insane. This is necessary. He grabbed her left hand, slid the ring onto her finger. It was heavy, cold. It fit perfectly, which somehow made everything worse. We're engaged. That's the story. You smile. You laugh at my jokes. You let me touch you. Nothing inappropriate, just enough to sell it. Can you do that? Do I have a choice? No. He led her outside. A different car tonight. Sleek, black, expensive. The driver opened the door. Alara got in. Ronan slid in beside her, and the door closed. The world outside disappeared behind tinted glass. They drove in silence. Alara twisted the ring on her finger, watching the diamond catch the light. It was beautiful. She hated it. "Where are we going?" she asked finally. "Dinner." "With who?" "Business associates." That's not an answer. Ronan looked at her. "You'll meet them. You'll smile. You'll let them think you're madly in love with me, and you won't ask questions. That's the answer." "What if they ask me questions?" "Keep it vague. We met through Luca. Fell in love. Decided to take the leap. Simple." "Nothing about this is simple." "Then fake it. You're smart. Figure it out." The restaurant was the kind of place that didn't have prices on the menu. All low lighting and expensive wine and waiters who moved like ghosts. The host recognized Ronan immediately, led them to a private room in the back. 3 people were already seated. 2 men, 1 woman. All of them looked up when Ronan walked in. "Ronan?" The older of the 2 men stood, extended a hand. He was maybe 60, silver hair, expensive watch. "Good to see you." "David." Ronan shook his hand, then gestured to Alara. "This is my fiancée, Alara Vance." The man's eyes lit up. "I heard rumors. Didn't believe them." "Believe them." Ronan's hand settled on the small of Alara's back. Warm. Possessive. "Alara, this is David Cormack, and his associates, Jennifer Wu and Marcus Delgado." Alara smiled, extended her hand. "Nice to meet you." Jennifer studied her the way a jeweler might study a stone, looking for flaws. "You're young." 22. "And you're marrying Ronan." "I am." "Bold choice." "I like bold." Jennifer's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'm sure you do." They sat, ordered drinks. The conversation flowed around Alara like water around a stone. Business talk, contracts, investments. Things she didn't understand and wasn't supposed to. She sipped her wine and played her part, smiled when Ronan touched her hand, laughed when he made a dry joke about market volatility. It was exhausting. Halfway through the second course, David turned to her. "So, Alara, what do you do?" "I'm a student, art history." "Ah, an academic." He sounded amused. "How did you 2 meet?" She glanced at Ronan. He was watching her, expression unreadable, testing her. "Through his brother," she said. "Luca and I went to school together. Ronan came to pick him up one day, and we just clicked." "Love at first sight?" "Something like that." "How romantic!" Jennifer's tone suggested it was anything but. "And when's the wedding?" "We haven't set a date yet," Ronan said smoothly. "Still enjoying the engagement." "Well, don't wait too long." David raised his glass. "To the happy couple." They all drank. Alara's wine tasted like ash. The dinner dragged. By the time dessert arrived, Alara's face hurt from smiling. Her hand hurt from Ronan holding it. Her chest hurt from pretending. Finally, mercifully, it ended. They said their goodbyes. Ronan's hand never left her back as they walked out. In the car, she sagged against the seat. "That was hell." "You did well." "I felt like a performing monkey." "You'll get used to it." "I don't want to get used to it." Ronan looked at her. "What you want stopped mattering the moment you said yes." Alara turned away, stared out the window. The city blurred past, lights and shadows and people who had no idea what it felt like to be bought. Back at the house, she went straight to her room, kicked off the heels, pulled off the dress, stood in front of the mirror in her underwear and looked at herself. The ring caught the light, mocked her. She tried to take it off. It wouldn't budge. "Son of a bitch!" She pulled harder. Her finger turned red. The ring stayed put. A knock at the door. "Alara?" "Ronan." She grabbed a robe, tied it closed. "What?" He opened the door without waiting for permission, saw her standing there, saw the ring, saw her red finger. His expression didn't change. "It's sized to swell," he said. "Security measure." "You're joking." "I don't joke about security." "Take it off." "No." "Ronan, you wear the ring. That's the deal." He stepped into the room, closed the door behind him. "You did well tonight. They believed it. Good for them." "Jennifer's suspicious. That's fine. Suspicious keeps people honest." He moved closer. But David bought it, and David's the one who matters. Why? Because he controls half the real estate development on the east side. If he trusts me, his partners trust me. If his partners trust me, I get access to legitimate revenue streams, which is the whole point. So I'm a prop in your PR campaign. You're a tool. Yes. He didn't flinch, didn't soften it. But a valuable one.
Fuck you. You keep saying that like it'll change something. Ilara's hands balled into fists. I hate you. I know. I hate this. I know that too. Then why? Her voice cracked. She hated that. Hated showing weakness. Why are you doing this? Ronan was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because the alternative is worse. For who? For everyone. He turned to leave.
Wait. She didn't know why she said it, but he stopped. That thing you said earlier, about Victor Salazar, about me being bait, was that true? Ronan looked back at her. Yes. How long have you known? Since the moment Luca told me your name. And you didn't think to mention it? Would it have changed anything? She wanted to say yes, but they both knew the answer. Get some sleep, Ronan said. We have another event tomorrow night. I can't keep doing this. You will. He opened the door. Because the alternative is dying, and you're not ready for that yet. He left. Ilara stood alone in the too big room with the too heavy ring and the too expensive robe and wondered when she'd stopped being a person and become a thing people moved around on a board. She didn't sleep, just lay in the dark and listened to the house settle. Somewhere below, a door closed. Footsteps. Then silence. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her swipe. Hello? Breathing, rough, labored. Then a voice, male, unfamiliar. You're very pretty, Ilara Vance. Her blood turned to ice. Who is this? A friend or an enemy. Depends on how you look at it. I'm hanging up. Do that and your father dies, tonight, in his sleep. Painlessly, if you're lucky. Her hand tightened around the phone. What do you want? I want you to know that Ronan DeLuca doesn't protect people. He collects them. And when he's done, he discards them. Who the fuck is this? A laugh, low, oily. Tell Ronan that Victor Salazar sends his regards. The line went dead. Ilara sat up, heart hammering. Her hands shook. The phone felt like a bomb. Victor Salazar. The name Ronan had mentioned. The rival. The threat. She should tell someone. Should wake Ronan. Should... No. No, she couldn't. Because telling Ronan meant admitting she was a liability, meant proving she was more trouble than she was worth. And she'd seen what Ronan did with things that weren't worth the trouble. She deleted the call log, turned off her phone, climbed back into bed and pulled the covers up to her chin. Outside, the wind picked up. Branches scratched against the window like fingers trying to get in. Ilara closed her eyes and tried to convince herself she was safe. But safety was a lie. She knew that now. And the man who promised to protect her was the same man who'd put her in danger in the first place. Somewhere in the house, a clock chimed 4. Dawn was still hours away. And the night had never felt longer. Ilara didn't tell Ronan about the phone call. She told herself it was strategy, self-preservation. That admitting Victor Salazar had her number, literally, would make her look weak, expendable. But the truth gnawed at her in the gray hours before dawn. The truth was she didn't trust Ronan. Not with this. Not with anything. By the time sunlight bled through the curtains, she'd made a decision. If she was going to survive this, she needed information. Real information. Not the scraps Ronan fed her when it suited him. She got dressed, jeans, hoodie, nothing that screamed mob boss's fiancé, and slipped downstairs. The house was quiet. Teresa wouldn't arrive for another hour. Ronan's office door was closed, a strip of light visible underneath. He was already awake, already working. Ilara moved past it toward the garage. She'd seen the cars yesterday when Marcus had driven her father away. 6 of them, all black, all expensive. The keys hung on a board by the door. She grabbed a set, tested the fob. A sedan chirped in response. Her heart hammered as she slid behind the wheel. The engine purred to life, smooth and quiet. She half expected alarms to blare, guards to appear, Ronan to materialize in the rear-view mirror with that flat, dangerous expression. but nothing happened. The garage door opened. She drove out into the pale morning, and for the first time in days she could breathe. The city looked different at dawn. Softer. Less like a weapon. She drove without direction at first, just putting distance between herself and the estate. But eventually, muscle memory took over. She ended up outside her old apartment building, staring up at the second-floor window where her father's shadow used to move behind yellowed curtains. Someone else lived there now. The lights were off. Elara pulled out her phone, turned it on. 17 missed calls. 12 from Luca. 3 from a number she didn't recognize. 2 from Ronan. She ignored all of them and dialed a different number. One she'd found buried in her father's old contacts months ago, back when she'd still been naive enough to think she could fix him. The line rang 4 times, then a voice, rough with sleep. Yeah? Is this P.D. Costa? A pause, then, sharper. Who's asking? Elara Vance. You sent 2 of your guys to threaten me in an alley 3 nights ago. Silence. Long enough that she thought he'd hung up. Then, Jesus Christ, you've got balls. You know who you're engaged to? I know exactly who I'm engaged to. That's why I'm calling. Another pause. She could hear him thinking, weighing the risk. What do you want? Information. About Victor Salazar. You're out of your goddamn mind. Probably, but you're going to tell me anyway. Why would I do that? Because Ronan DeLuca scared you enough that you wrote off 60 grand without a fight, which means you're already compromised. And if I go back and tell him you refuse to help me, what do you think happens? Petey exhaled slowly. You're playing a dangerous game, girl. I didn't choose the game, but I'm in it now. She gripped the steering wheel tighter. Victor called me last night, threatened my father. I need to know what he wants. He wants Ronan dead. That's what he's always wanted. Why? Because Ronan's squeezing him out. Every legitimate business Victor tries to start, Ronan undercuts him. Every deal Victor makes, Ronan poisons it. It's been going on for 2 years. Victor's losing ground, losing money, losing respect, and men like Victor don't take that lying down. So why target me? Because you're the first thing Ronan's cared about in a decade. Petey's laugh was bitter, or at least the first thing he's made public. Victor sees an opening. He takes it. Elara's stomach twisted. What kind of opening? The kind where he hurts Ronan by hurting you, or uses you to draw Ronan out, or both. A pause. You should disappear, Elara. Get out of the city. Change your name. Run. I can't. Then you're already dead. The line went quiet. Petey, don't call this number again. He hung up. Elara sat in the parked car, staring at the phone, and felt the walls close in tighter. Victor Salazar wanted Ronan, and she was the bait. Not because of her father's debt, that had just been the excuse. She'd been marked the moment Ronan decided she was useful. Her phone buzzed. Ronan, where are you? She stared at the message, thought about lying, thought about telling the truth, did neither. The phone rang. Ronan's name flashed on the screen. She let it ring, once, twice, 3 times. Then she answered. I needed air, she said before he could speak. You took one of my cars. You didn't say I couldn't. I didn't say you could. So add it to the list of rules I don't know about. Silence. Then, quieter. Where are you? Outside my old apartment. Why? Because it's the only place in this city that still feels real. Another pause. She could hear him breathing, controlled, even. Come back. What if I don't? Then I'll come get you. Is that a threat? It's a fact. His voice didn't change, still flat, still certain. You're not safe out there, Elara. Victor's people are watching, waiting. You think you can just drive around the city without consequences? I think I'm tired of being a prisoner in your house. You're not a prisoner. Then what am I? He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was different, softer, almost human. Come back. Please. The please surprised her. She didn't think Ronan DeLuca knew the word. I'll come back, she said. But we're going to talk. Really talk. No more half-truths. Fine. You promise? I don't make promises I can't keep. She hung up, started the car, drove back to the estate with her hands shaking and her mind racing. She'd pushed him. She didn't know if that was brave or stupid, maybe both. Ronan was waiting in the foyer when she walked in. He looked different. His suit jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. He looked tired, human. "You're angry," Alara said. "I'm concerned." "Same thing for you." He almost smiled. Almost. "Come on." He led her to his office, the room she'd been told not to enter. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one, sat on the edge of his desk. "Ask," he said. "What?" "You wanted to talk, so talk. Ask me whatever you want." Alara took a sip. The whiskey burned. "Why me?" "I told you." "No, not the PR answer. The real answer. Why did you pick me?" Ronan studied his glass. "Because you were desperate, and desperate people are predictable." "That's cold." "That's honest." He looked up. "You wanted the truth." "What about the part where Victor was using me as bait? When were you going to mention that?" "When it became relevant." "It's relevant now." "No, it's not." He set his glass down. "Victor can threaten all he wants. He can't touch you, not while you're here." "He called me last night." Ronan's expression shifted, darkened. "What?" 3 a.m. Unknown number. "He told me you collect people and discard them. Told me my father would die if I didn't. I don't know." He hung up before giving me instructions. Ronan stood. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't know if I could trust you." "And now?" "I still don't." He laughed, sharp and humorless. "At least you're honest." "One of us has to be." Ronan moved to the window, looked out at the grounds. "Victor's escalating. That's not good." "What does that mean?" "It means he's desperate, and desperate people make mistakes." He turned back to her. "But they also get dangerous." "So what do we do?" "We stick to the plan. You stay here, you play your role, and I handle Victor." "How?" "You don't need to know." "Yes, I do." Alara stood, cross to him. "I'm the one he's targeting. I deserve to know what you're planning." Ronan looked at her for a long time. Then he said, "There's a gala tomorrow night. Big event. Politicians, business leaders, people who matter. Victor will be there." "And?" "And I'm going to make it very clear that you're untouchable." "How?" "By making sure everyone in that room knows exactly who you belong to." Alara's jaw tightened. "I don't belong to anyone." "Yes, you do." He stepped closer. "That's the whole point of this arrangement, Alara. You're mine. On paper, in public, in every way that matters. And tomorrow night, I'm going to make sure Victor understands that." "What if he doesn't care?" "Then I'll make him care." The way he said it, cold, certain, final, sent a chill down her spine. "You're going to kill him," she said quietly. Ronan didn't deny it. "If it comes to that." "Jesus Christ. You asked for the truth." "I didn't ask for that." "Then you should have been more specific." He moved past her, poured himself another drink. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long night." "Ronan, we're done talking." He walked out. Alara stood alone in his office, surrounded by books and secrets and money that smelled like blood, and wondered how much longer she could keep pretending this was survivable. The next night came too fast. The dress was red this time, crimson, floor length, cut low enough to be interesting but high enough to be elegant. Alara stared at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman looking back. Hair pinned up, makeup professionally done by someone Teresa had called in, jewelry that probably cost more than her entire education. She looked like someone who mattered. She felt like a ghost. Ronan knocked once, then entered without waiting. He wore a tuxedo tonight, black and perfectly fitted, and for a second Alara forgot to breathe. He was beautiful in a terrible way, like a blade. "You ready?" he asked. "No." "Good. Neither am I." That surprised her. "You're nervous?" "I'm cautious. There's a difference." He offered his arm. "Let's go." The gala was held in a hotel ballroom that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought subtlety was a weakness. Crystal chandeliers, marble columns, enough gold leaf to fund a small country. People in tuxedos and gowns milled around with champagne glasses, laughing at jokes that weren't funny, making deals that would ruin lives. Ronan's hand stayed on her back the entire time. possessive, protective. She couldn't tell which. They made the rounds, shook hands, smiled. Ronan introduced her as his fiancée to everyone who mattered, and Alara played her part. Charming, gracious, the perfect accessory. And then she saw him. Victor Salazar. He was standing near the bar, surrounded by men in expensive suits who laughed at everything he said. He was shorter than she'd expected, stockier, with a face that might have been handsome once, before cruelty carved lines into it. He saw her at the same moment, smiled. Ilara's blood turned to ice. "That's him," she whispered. Ronan's hand tightened on her back. "I know. He's coming over. Let him." Victor crossed the ballroom like he owned it, his entourage trailing behind. He stopped in front of Ronan, that smile never wavering. "Ronan," he said, "didn't expect to see you here." "Victor." Ronan's tone was neutral, polite. "Likewise." Victor's eyes slid to Alara. "And this must be the fiancée I've heard so much about." "Alara Vance," Ronan said. "Alara, Victor Salazar." Victor extended his hand. Alara wanted to refuse it, but Ronan's fingers pressed into her back, a warning. She shook Victor's hand. His grip was too tight, too long. "Charming," Victor said. "Absolutely charming." "Ronan, you've outdone yourself." "I think so." "When's the wedding?" "We haven't set a date." "Ah, keeping your options open. Smart." Victor's smile widened. "You know, Alara, if you ever get tired of this one, I'm always looking for good company." Alara forced a smile. "I'll keep that in mind." "You do that." Victor looked back at Ronan. "We should talk. Privately." "There's nothing to discuss." "I think there is." The air between them crackled. Alara could feel Ronan's tension, the way his body had gone rigid, coiled. "Not tonight," Ronan said quietly. "Then when?" "When I'm ready." Victor's smile finally faded. "You can't avoid me forever, Ronan." "I'm not avoiding you. I'm dismissing you." For a second, Alara thought Victor might throw a punch. His jaw tightened, his eyes went hard. But then he laughed. "Enjoy your night, Ronan. Both of you." He walked away. Ronan's hand stayed on Alara's back, but she could feel him shaking. Or maybe that was her. "That was stupid," she whispered. "That was necessary. You just made an enemy." "I already had an enemy. I just reminded him who's in control." Alara pulled away, turned to face him. "Are you? Am I what?" "In control." Ronan looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time she saw something crack in his expression. Doubt, fear, human things. "I don't know," he said quietly. The honesty shocked her. Before she could respond, someone screamed. The ballroom went silent. Heads turned. At the far end of the room, near the doors, a man in a tuxedo had collapsed. Blood pooled beneath him, spreading across white marble. People scattered. Chaos erupted. Ronan grabbed Alara's arm, pulled her close. "Stay with me," he said. "What's happening?" "I don't know." Security swarmed. The doors locked. Someone shouted about calling an ambulance. Alara's heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack a rib. And then she saw him. Luca, standing near the body, his shirt splattered with blood, his face white as paper. "No," Alara whispered. "No, no, no." She broke from Ronan's grip, ran toward Luca. He looked up when she got close, and the expression on his face shattered her. He just fell," Luca said. His voice shook. "I was standing right there, and he just fell." Ronan appeared beside her. "Luca, what happened?" "I don't know. We were talking, and then—" Luca looked down at his hands. They were shaking. "There's so much blood." The man on the floor wasn't moving. Alara recognized him now. One of Victor's entourage, the one who'd been laughing the loudest. Security pulled them back. Paramedics arrived. The ballroom emptied in waves, people fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. Ronan pulled Luca aside, his voice low and urgent. "Did you see anyone? Anyone near him before he fell?" "No, I don't know." "Think, Luca." "I'm trying." Alara watched them, her mind racing. Something was wrong. This wasn't random. This was a message. Her phone buzzed in her clutch. She pulled it out. Unknown number. She opened the message. 2 down. 12 to go. Every hour Ronan refuses to meet, someone else dies. Tell him the clock's ticking. V. Her hands went numb. The phone slipped from her fingers, clattered to the floor. Ronan turned. What is it? She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. He picked up the phone, read the message. His expression went cold. Dead. Get her out of here, he said to Marcus, who'd appeared from nowhere. Take her home. Don't stop. Don't let anyone near her. Ronan? Alara started. Go. Now. Marcus grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the exit. She looked back. Ronan was already on his phone, his face a mask of fury and something darker. Luca stood frozen, staring at the blood on his hands. And somewhere in the chaos, Victor Salazar was watching, smiling. The ride home was silent. Marcus drove like he was being chased, weaving through traffic, running red lights. Alara sat in the back, her mind blank, her chest tight. When they arrived at the estate, Marcus walked her inside, checked every room, then stationed himself by the front door. Mr. DeLuca said not to leave this house, he said. I wasn't planning on it. I'm serious, Miss Vance. Stay inside, lock the doors. Don't answer the phone unless it's him. Okay. He left. Alara stood in the foyer alone in the massive house and felt the silence press down like a weight. Her phone buzzed. Ronan, are you safe? Yes. Stay there. I'll be home soon. She didn't respond. Hours passed. Midnight came and went. Alara paced the living room, the library, the kitchen, couldn't sit, couldn't think, just moved. At 2 a.m., the front door opened. Ronan walked in. His tuxedo was disheveled, his face drawn. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. What happened? Alara asked. Victor killed 3 more people. 2 at the gala, 1 at a restaurant across town. His voice was flat, mechanical. He's not bluffing. You have to meet with him. I can't. Why not? Because the moment I do, I lose. Ronan ran a hand through his hair. Victor wants me to fold, to give him back the territory I've taken. If I do that, I'm done. Finished. Everyone will know I bent. So you're going to let people die? I'm going to find another way. There is no other way. Alara's voice cracked. He's killing people, Ronan. Innocent people. Because of you. Because of us. I know that. Then do something. I am. He shouted it, and the sound echoed through the house. I'm trying to keep you alive, Alara. You think this is easy? You think I'm not terrified that the next body will be yours? She stared at him. He looked broken, like all the control had finally shattered. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't. No. I'm sorry. He sat on the couch, buried his face in his hands. I brought you into this. I made you a target. And now I don't know how to protect you. Alara sat beside him. Without thinking, she took his hand. It was warm, solid, real. Then let me help, she said. He looked at her. How? I don't know yet. But sitting here waiting for Victor to kill everyone we know isn't working. Ronan's thumb brushed over her knuckles. You're braver than I thought. Or stupider. Maybe both. They sat in silence. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the house creaked. And somewhere in the city, Victor Salazar was counting down the hours. Alara's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Her father. Tied to a chair, blood on his face. The message beneath. You have 6 hours. Then he dies screaming. Bring Ronan to the docks, Pier 17, alone. Or I start cutting pieces off. Alara's world tilted. No, she whispered. Ronan looked at the phone. His expression went blank. He has my father, Alara said. Her voice sounded far away. He has him, and he's going to kill him, and it's my fault. It's all my fault. Alara, I have to go. I have to. Ronan grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. You're not going anywhere. He'll kill him. If you go, Victor kills you both. That's how this works. Then what do I do? Tears streamed down her face. She didn't remember starting to cry. What the fuck do I do, Ronan? He pulled her against his chest, and she broke. Sobbed into his shirt while he held her, one hand in her hair, the other around her waist. "I'll get him back," Ronan said quietly. "I promise." "You said you don't make promises you can't keep." "I'm making an exception." She pulled back, looked at him. His eyes were red. He looked as wrecked as she felt. "How?" she asked. "I don't know yet, but I will." And despite everything, despite the lies and the manipulation and the cage, she believed him. Because for the first time since this nightmare started, Ronan DeLuca looked like a man who had something to lose. And men with something to lose fought harder than men with nothing left. Alara wiped her eyes. "What do we do first?" Ronan stood, pulled out his phone. "We call my brother." "Luca?" "No, the other one." "I didn't know you had another brother." Ronan's smile was grim. "Most people don't. That's the point." He made the call. It rang once, then a voice deep and rough. "Yeah?" "I need you," Ronan said. A pause. "Where?" "Home. Now." "On my way." Ronan hung up, looked at Alara. "His name's Dante. He's complicated, but he's the only person I trust with something like this." "What's he gonna do?" "Whatever it takes." An hour later, the front door opened. A man walked in, tall, broader than Ronan, with scars on his knuckles and a face that looked like it had been broken more than once. He wore jeans and a leather jacket, and he moved like violence waiting to happen. "Dante," Ronan said. "Ronan." Dante's eyes slid to Alara. "This her?" "Yes." "She's pretty. No wonder Victor wants her." "Can you help or not?" Dante grinned. It wasn't a nice expression. "I can help, but it's going to get messy." "I don't care about messy. I care about results." "Then let's go get your girl's daddy back." Alara looked at Ronan, at Dante, at the 6 hours ticking down on her phone, and she made a decision. "I'm coming with you," she said. "Absolutely not," Ronan said. "He's my father." "Which is exactly why you're staying here." "No." She stepped forward. "I've been sitting on the sidelines this entire time, letting you make all the decisions, and look where it got us. People are dead. My father's been tortured, and I'm done being helpless." "Alara, I'm coming. You can argue, but I'm still coming, so save your breath." Dante laughed. "I like her." Ronan's jaw tightened. "If you get hurt, then I get hurt, but at least I'll have tried." She grabbed her jacket from the hook. "Let's go." Ronan looked at Dante. Dante shrugged. "Your funeral," Dante said. They piled into one of the black sedans. Dante drove. Ronan sat in the passenger seat, phone pressed to his ear, making calls in a language Alara didn't understand. Italian, maybe. She sat in the back and watched the city blur past. The dock smelled like salt and rot. Pier 17 was abandoned, the warehouse at the end dark and silent. Dante killed the headlights a block away, parked in an alley. "How many men does he have?" Dante asked. "Unknown. At least 6, maybe more." "And how many do we have?" Ronan looked at him. 3. Shit odds. "I've worked with worse." Dante grinned again. "Me too." They got out. The wind off the water was cold, biting. Alara's hands shook. She shoved them in her pockets. Ronan turned to her. "You stay behind us. You don't move unless I tell you to. You don't speak unless I ask. Understood?" "Yes." "I'm serious, Alara. One wrong move and this goes bad." "I know." He looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. Just turned and started toward the warehouse. They moved in silence. Dante took point, moving like a shadow. Ronan stayed close to Alara, his hand occasionally touching her back, guiding her. The warehouse loomed ahead, rusted metal, broken windows, a single light burning inside. Dante stopped at the door. "You ready?" Ronan nodded. Dante kicked it open. Inside, the warehouse was vast and empty, except for a single chair in the center, and in that chair, bound and bleeding, was Alara's father. Victor Salazar stood behind him, smiling. "Right on time," Victor said. "I knew you'd come." Ronan stepped forward. "Let him go." "Let's negotiate first." "There's nothing to negotiate." "Oh, I think there is." Victor pulled a knife from his belt, pressed it to Alara's father's throat. "You give me back my territory, all of it, and I let the old drunk live." "No deal." "Then he dies." If he dies, you die. Maybe. Victor's smile widened. But so does she. Men stepped from the shadows. 6 of them, armed, surrounding them. Ilara's heart stopped. Ronan didn't move. You wanted a meeting. You've got one. So talk. I want you to admit it, Victor said. Admit that I won, that you're beaten. Never. Then your pride kills them both. And in that moment, Ilara understood. This wasn't about territory. It wasn't about money. It was about humiliation. Victor wanted to break Ronan, to make him beg. She stepped forward. Ilara, don't, Ronan started, but she ignored him, walked straight toward Victor. Her father's eyes went wide. Ellie, no, he croaked. She stopped in front of Victor. Let him go. Why would I do that? Because I'm what you really want. She held Victor's gaze. You want to hurt Ronan? Take me, use me, do whatever, but let my father go. Ilara! Ronan shouted. She didn't look back. Victor studied her. Then he laughed. You've got guts, I'll give you that. But you're not that important. Yes, I am. She forced herself to smile. Or you wouldn't have gone through all this trouble. Victor's eyes narrowed, and then, from behind her, Dante moved. Fast. Brutal. A gunshot cracked. One of Victor's men dropped. Chaos erupted. Ilara dove to the ground. Ronan pulled a gun from his jacket, fired twice. More bodies fell. Dante was a blur of motion, taking down men twice his size with ruthless efficiency. Victor grabbed Ilara's father, used him as a shield. Everybody stop or I cut his throat. The warehouse went silent. Ilara looked up, met her father's eyes, saw the fear there, the regret, the love. I'm sorry, baby, he whispered. Dad! Victor's knife moved, and Ronan fired. The bullet caught Victor in the shoulder. He screamed, dropped the knife. Ilara's father slumped forward. Dante rushed in, cut his bonds, dragged him away. Victor clutched his shoulder, blood pouring between his fingers. You shot me. You actually shot me. Ronan walked forward, pressed the gun to Victor's forehead. This ends now. Do it. Victor smiled through the pain. But you'll never be legitimate. You'll always be what you are. A killer. Ronan's finger tightened on the trigger. Ronan, Ilara said quietly. Don't. He looked at her, eyes wild, desperate. If you kill him, she said, you prove him right. He deserves to die. Maybe, but you deserve better. The gun shook in his hand, then slowly he lowered it. Get out, Ronan said. Leave the city. If I ever see you again, I'll finish this. Victor laughed, blood on his teeth. You think this is over? You think... Ronan hit him, once, hard. Victor crumpled. Dante hauled Ilara's father toward the door. We need to move, now. They ran, out of the warehouse, across the docks, into the car. Dante floored it. Behind them, sirens wailed. Ilara held her father's hand. He was pale, barely conscious, but alive. I've got you, she whispered. You're okay. He squeezed her hand. Couldn't speak, but his eyes said everything. They made it back to the estate just as dawn broke. Paramedics were waiting. Ronan must have called ahead. They took Ilara's father inside, started treatment. Ilara stood in the foyer, covered in blood and dirt, and finally let herself collapse. Ronan caught her, held her up. It's over, he said. But she knew better. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning of something far more dangerous. Because somewhere in the chaos, she'd stopped pretending. She'd stopped playing a role. And the feelings clawing their way through her chest weren't fake anymore. They were real. Terrifyingly, impossibly real. The paramedics worked on her father in one of the estate's guest rooms while Ilara stood outside the door, still wearing clothes stiff with dried blood. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd washed them twice, but could still feel the tackiness of Victor's blood, her father's blood. All that goddamn blood mixing together until she couldn't tell whose was whose. Ronan appeared beside her with a glass of water she didn't remember asking for. Drink, he said. She took it, didn't drink, just held it. How is he? Ronan asked. I don't know. They won't tell me anything. Her voice came out flat, mechanical. He looked so small in that chair, like he'd already died and just forgot to stop breathing. He's going to be okay. You don't know that. The paramedics are good. I pay them to be good. She finally looked at him. Really looked. His shirt was torn, splattered with blood. There was a cut above his left eyebrow she hadn't noticed before, still seeping. His knuckles were split open. He looked like he'd been through a war. You're hurt, she said. I'm fine. You're bleeding. I've bled before. The door opened. One of the paramedics stepped out, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes. He's stable. 3 broken ribs, concussion, lacerations that'll need stitches. But he'll live. Alar's knees went weak. Ronan caught her elbow, held her steady. Can I see him? She asked. 5 minutes. He needs rest. Alara went in. Her father lay on the bed, bandaged and bruised, hooked up to an IV. His eyes were closed. She pulled a chair close, sat down, took his hand. Hey, Dad, she whispered. His eyes opened, bloodshot, unfocused. But there. Ellie, his voice was a rasp. You shouldn't have come. Of course I came. You're my father. I'm a fuck-up. Yeah, well, you're my fuck-up. He tried to smile, winced instead. I'm sorry for everything, for the debt, for the drinking, for... Stop. She squeezed his hand. We'll talk about it later. Right now you just need to heal. That man, Ronan, he saved my life. I know. You really going to marry him? Alara looked at the ring still on her finger, the one she'd tried to take off a lifetime ago. I don't know. He looks at you different. Different how? Like you matter. Her father coughed, groaned. Like you're the only thing that matters. Before she could respond, the paramedic came back in. Time's up. He needs to sleep. Alara kissed her father's forehead, whispered that she loved him, and left. In the hallway, Ronan was on his phone, voice low and urgent. He saw her, ended the call. We need to talk, he said. About what? About what happens next. He led her to his office. Dawn light filtered through the windows, painting everything gold. Ronan poured himself a drink, drained it, poured another. Victor's in the wind, he said without preamble. Dante tracked him to a clinic on the east side, but by the time we got there, he was gone. So he's still out there. For now. What does that mean? It means I've got people looking. He's injured, desperate, and running out of places to hide. We'll find him. And then what? You kill him? Ronan set his glass down. You stopped me once. Don't expect me to hesitate again. I wasn't trying to save Victor. I was trying to save you. From what? From becoming the thing everyone thinks you are. He laughed, sharp, bitter. Alara, I am that thing. I've always been that thing. You just didn't want to see it. That's not true. Isn't it? He moved closer. I've killed people, ordered deaths, destroyed lives because they got in my way. You think one moment of mercy changes that? I think it proves you're capable of more. I'm not looking for redemption. Maybe you should be. They stared at each other. The space between them felt electric, dangerous. Why do you care? Ronan asked quietly. I dragged you into this, made you a target. You should hate me. I do hate you. Her voice cracked. I hate that you lied. I hate that you manipulated me. I hate that you made me feel like I didn't have a choice. She stepped closer. But I also... The words stuck. She couldn't say them, couldn't make them real. Ronan's hand came up, cupped her face. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. You also what? I also can't stop thinking about you. It came out as a whisper. And I don't know if that's real, or if it's just Stockholm Syndrome, or if I'm losing my mind, but it's there. It's been there since the night at the warehouse when you almost killed Victor, and I saw something in your eyes that looked like... Like what? Like you were scared. His jaw tightened. I was. I am. Of Victor? Of losing you. The confession hung between them like smoke. Alara's heart hammered so hard she could feel it in her throat. Ronan, don't. He dropped his hand, stepped back. Don't say anything you can't take back. What if I don't want to take it back? He looked at her like she'd just driven a knife between his ribs. You don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. Alara, she kissed him. It wasn't gentle, wasn't tentative.
She grabbed the front of his shirt and pulled him down and pressed her mouth to his like she was drowning, and he was air. For a second, he didn't move, didn't react, and she thought she'd made a terrible mistake. Then his hands were in her hair, and he was kissing her back with a desperation that matched her own. His mouth tasted like whiskey and something darker. His body was solid against hers, all tension and restrained violence. She broke away, gasping, "This is a mistake!" "Probably." His forehead pressed against hers. "Do you care?" "No." "Good." He kissed her again, harder this time, consuming. His hands moved down her back, pulled her closer. She could feel his heartbeat against her chest, fast and erratic, matching her own. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. "We can't do this," Ronan said. "Why not?" "Because it complicates everything." "Everything's already complicated." Ilaris stopped thinking. She grabbed his hand, placed it over her heart. "Feel that? I'm terrified. Of you, of this, of what happens next. But I'm also alive for the first time in years, and I'm done pretending that doesn't mean something." Ronan looked at her hand on his, at the ring he'd put there, at the woman who'd walked into his life as a transaction and somehow become the only thing he couldn't afford to lose. "If we do this," he said quietly, "there's no going back." "I know. I'm not a good man, Ilara. I can't promise you happy endings or safety or any of the things you deserve. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking for the truth. The truth is, I'm falling for you. Have been since the night you stood in my foyer looking like you wanted to bolt but didn't. The truth is, you scare the hell out of me because caring about people makes them weapons. And the truth is, if something happens to you, I will burn this entire city to the ground." He paused. "That's the truth. Still want it?" She answered by kissing him again. This time, neither of them pulled away. They stumbled towards the desk. Papers scattered. A lamp crashed to the floor. Ilara didn't care. Ronan lifted her onto the desk, stepped between her legs, his mouth never leaving hers. His hands moved under her shirt, rough and urgent, and she gasped against his lips. "Wait," she breathed. He froze. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I need you to know this isn't because I'm grateful or because I think it'll change the arrangement. This is because I want you, just you." Something in his expression softened. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." He kissed her forehead, her cheek, the corner of her mouth. "Because I want you too. Not the role, not the convenience, you." And that was all the permission either of them needed. What happened next was frantic, desperate, a collision of need and fear and something that felt dangerously close to love. Ronan's hands mapped her body like he was memorizing every curve, every scar. Ilara's fingers traced the ink on his arms, the old wounds that told stories he'd never shared. When it was over, they lay tangled together on the floor of his office, breathing hard, covered in sweat and the ruins of carefully constructed walls. "That was," Ilara started. "Yeah. What do we do now?" "I don't know." She laughed, actually laughed. "You always have a plan." "Not for this." They lay in silence for a while. Outside, the city woke up. Cars honked, birds sang. Life continued, indifferent to the fact that everything had just changed. Ronan's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. "You should get that," Ilara said. "I don't want to." "It might be important." He sighed, reached for his pants, pulled out the phone, read the screen. His entire body went rigid. "What is it?" Ilara asked. "Dante." Ronan's voice was tight. "Victor didn't run. He's regrouping." "What does that mean?" Ronan stood, started dressing. "It means we've got maybe 6 hours before he retaliates. And this time he's not going to play games." Ilara scrambled to her feet, grabbed her clothes. "How do you know?" "Because Dante's sources say Victor's calling in favors, hiring muscle from out of state. This isn't about territory anymore. It's about revenge." "Against you?" "Against all of us." Her stomach dropped. "My father is being moved to a secure location as we speak. Luca, too. Anyone connected to me is being pulled in." "What about me?" Ronan looked at her. "You stay here. With me." "That's not safe." "Nowhere's safe. But at least here I can protect you." "Ronan, this isn't negotiable," He grabbed her shoulders. Victor's gonna come for me. When he does, I need to know you're somewhere I can defend. So what, I just sit here and wait? Yes. Like hell. His grip tightened. Alara, I almost lost you once. I'm not doing it again. And I'm not going to sit in a room while you throw yourself at a man who wants you dead. She pulled free. We do this together, or not at all? You're not trained for this. Neither was I trained to be fake engaged to a crime boss, but here we are. This is different. How? Because people are going to die tonight, and I can't— His voice broke. I can't have you be one of them. Alara grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. Then teach me to fight. Give me a gun. Do whatever you have to do, but don't lock me in a cage and call it protection. They stood there, eyes locked, both breathing hard.
Finally, Ronan nodded. Okay, but you follow my lead. No heroics, no improvising. Deal. He pulled her into a kiss. Quick. Hard. If you get hurt, I'll never forgive you. Right back at you. The next 6 hours were a blur. Ronan made calls, mobilized his people, turned the estate into a fortress. Men in tactical gear appeared from nowhere, setting up barriers, checking weapons, running drills. Dante showed up with a duffel bag full of guns and a grim expression. Victor's got 20 men, he said. Maybe more. He's planning to hit us tonight. Hard. How do you know, Sheit? Ronan asked. Because one of his guys got drunk and started bragging at a bar. My source overheard. Could be a trap. Could be. But the timeline matches. Victor's not the type to wait. Ronan nodded. Then we don't wait either. We hit him first. You know where he is? I've got an idea. Dante grinned. I was hoping you'd say that. Ronan turned to Alara. She'd changed into dark jeans and a black shirt. One of Dante's people had given her a vest, bulletproof, heavy, uncomfortable. She wore it anyway. Last chance to back out, Ronan said. Not a chance. He handed her a gun, small, compact. You know how to use this? Point and shoot, right? Basically. He showed her the safety, the trigger. Don't aim unless you're ready to kill. And if you do shoot, don't hesitate. Hesitation gets you dead. Alara took the gun. It felt foreign in her hand. Heavy. Real. I can do this, she said. I know you can. They piled into 3 SUVs, Ronan, Alara, and Dante in the lead vehicle. The rest of Ronan's men followed. The sun was setting, painting the sky blood red. Where are we going? Alara asked. Warehouse District, South Side. Ronan's voice was clipped, professional. Victor's using an old meatpacking plant as a base. It's isolated, defensible. He thinks we won't find him there. But you did. I always do. They drove in silence. Alara's hands were sweating. She wiped them on her jeans, checked the gun's safety for the 3rd time. Ronan noticed. You okay? No. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. What if I freeze? You won't. How do you know? Because you didn't freeze at the docks. You ran toward danger, not away from it. He glanced at her. That's not something you can teach. The warehouse district appeared ahead. Abandoned buildings, rusted metal, broken windows. The perfect place for a showdown. Dante parked a block away. The other SUVs pulled up behind them. Ronan's men got out, checked weapons, moved with military precision. Ronan turned to Alara. You stay behind me. Always. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you to hide, you hide. Understood? Yes. Say it. I stay behind you. I follow orders. Good. He kissed her, quick, desperate. Let's end this. They moved through the shadows. The meatpacking plant loomed ahead, lights burning in the windows. Ronan signaled. His men spread out, surrounding the building. Dante moved to the front entrance. We go in quiet. Take out anyone on the perimeter. Then we find Victor. And then? One of the men asked. Then we finish this. They breached, silent, efficient. 2 guards at the door went down without a sound. Inside, the plant was a maze of hallways and rooms, all concrete and rust. The smell of old blood hung in the air. Alara's heart hammered. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every sound made her jump. But Ronan's hand on her back kept her grounded. They cleared the 1st floor. Nothing. Moved to the 2nd. found 3 of Victor's men in what used to be an office. Dante took them down before they could raise the alarm. "He's here," Ronan whispered. "I can feel it." They climbed to the 3rd floor, a single door at the end of the hallway. Light spilled from underneath. Ronan raised his hand. His men stopped. He looked at Dante. Dante nodded. Ronan kicked the door open. Inside, Victor sat at a desk, flanked by 6 men with guns. He looked up, smiled. "Ronan, right on time." "It's over, Victor." "Is it?" Victor stood. "Because from where I'm standing, you just walked into a trap." Men poured from the shadows, 10, 15, more, all armed, all pointing guns at Ronan's team. Alara's blood turned to ice. Ronan didn't flinch. "You think this changes anything? I think it changes everything." Victor stepped forward. "You see, Ronan, I don't want your territory. I don't want your money. I want you to suffer, and the best way to do that is to take everything you love." His eyes slid to Alara. "No," Ronan said quietly. "Yes." Victor gestured. 2 of his men moved toward Alara. Ronan raised his gun, but 3 more guns pressed against his head. "Don't move," Victor said, "or everyone dies." Alara's mind raced. She had the gun. Ronan had shown her how to use it, but she was surrounded, outnumbered. One wrong move and they'd all be dead. Victor's men grabbed her arms, started pulling her toward him. "Let her go," Ronan said. His voice was steady, but Alara could see the fear in his eyes. "Why would I do that?" Victor asked. "Because if you hurt her, there's no deal, no negotiation. I will hunt you to the ends of the earth and make you beg for death." Tough words for a man with a gun to his head. "Try me." Victor studied him, then he laughed. "You really do care about her." I almost didn't believe it. Ronan DeLuca, the man with no weaknesses, finally found one. He grabbed Alara's chin, forced her to look at him. "What do you see in him, sweetheart? The money? The power? Or do you actually think there's something redeemable underneath all that blood?" Alara spat in his face. Victor backhanded her, hard. Her head snapped to the side, blood filled her mouth. Ronan roared, tried to lunge. The men holding him pressed their guns harder. "Careful, Ronan," Victor said. "Wouldn't want to do something rash." Alara's vision swam. Her cheek throbbed. But through the pain, an idea formed. Risky, stupid. But maybe their only shot. She looked at Ronan, caught his eye, mouthed 2 words. "Trust me." His expression shifted. Confusion. Then understanding. He gave the smallest nod. Alara took a breath. Then she drove her elbow into the gut of the man holding her left arm. He doubled over. She grabbed the gun from her waistband, spun, fired. The shot went wide. Missed, but it was enough. Chaos erupted. Ronan broke free, drove his gun into the temple of the nearest man. Dante opened fire. Victor's men scattered. Bullets ricocheted off concrete. Someone screamed. Alara dove behind a desk, covered her head. The world exploded into noise and violence. A hand grabbed her ankle. Pulled. She kicked, connected with something soft. The grip loosened. She scrambled away, came face to face with one of Victor's men. He raised his gun. She raised hers. Fired. The recoil nearly knocked her over. The man fell. Blood spread across his chest. Alara stared. She'd killed him. Actually killed him. No time to process. Ronan appeared, pulled her up. "Move." They ran. Down the hallway. Dante covered their retreat, firing methodically. Behind them, Victor's voice echoed. "You can run, Ronan, but I'll find you. I'll find her, and when I do—" An explosion cut him off. The building shook. Fire bloomed somewhere below. "What the hell was that?" Alara shouted. "Dante's insurance policy," Ronan said. He rigged the lower floors just in case. They burst out onto the roof. Night air hit her lungs. Below, the building was burning. Men poured out of exits, coughing, stumbling. "There," Dante pointed. A fire escape on the far side. They ran. Alara's lungs burned. Her legs screamed, but she kept moving. Behind them, the roof access door exploded open. Victor stumbled out, covered in soot, gun in hand. "Ronan!" he screamed. Ronan turned. Victor fired. The bullet caught Ronan in the shoulder. He spun, went down. "No!" Alara dropped beside him. Blood poured from the wound. His face was pale. "Go," he rasped. "I'm not leaving you." "Alara,
I said, I'm not leaving you. Victor advanced, smiled through the smoke. Touching, really, but it ends now. He raised his gun, aimed at Alara. Time slowed. She saw Victor's finger tighten on the trigger, saw Ronan try to move to shield her, saw Dante too far away to help. And she made a choice. She raised her own gun, looked Victor in the eye, and pulled the trigger. The shot was clean. Perfect. It caught Victor square in the chest. He looked down, looked at her, smiled. Well played, he whispered. Then he fell. Alara stood there, gun still raised, watching Victor Salazar bleed out on the roof of a burning building. Dante reached them. We need to go, now. He hauled Ronan up. Alara grabbed Ronan's other side. Together they made it to the fire escape, down the rusted ladder, into the alley below. Sirens wailed in the distance. The building groaned, collapsed inward. Flames reached for the sky. They piled into the SUV. Dante drove. Ronan slumped in the passenger seat, breathing hard, hand pressed to his shoulder. Alara sat in the back, staring at her hands. They were covered in blood. Hers, Ronan's, Victor's. You okay? Ronan asked without turning. I killed him. I know. I killed a man. I know. His voice was soft. I'm sorry. Don't be. She looked up, met his eyes in the rearview mirror. He would have killed us both. Still, you shouldn't have had to do that. But I did. She wiped her hands on her jeans. They still felt dirty. And I'd do it again. Ronan's expression was unreadable. Pride, maybe, or grief, or both. They drove back to the estate in silence. The paramedics were waiting. They pulled Ronan inside, started working on his shoulder. Alara watched from the doorway, numb. Luca appeared, pulled her into a hug. You're alive. Yeah. What happened? Victor's dead. Ronan's hurt. And Her voice broke. I shot someone, Luca. I killed him. I know, Dante called. He pulled back, looked at her. You did what you had to do. I don't feel like I did. You will. Eventually. The paramedics finished. Ronan's shoulder was bandaged, his arm in a sling. He looked exhausted, older, but alive. Alara crossed to him, took his good hand. It's over, she said. Yeah. What happens now? Ronan looked at her, really looked, and for the first time she saw something in his eyes that looked like hope. Now we figure out what we are, he said. For real this time. And what's that? I don't know yet. He squeezed her hand. But I want to find out, if you do. Alara thought about the ring on her finger, the contract that had started as a lie, the man who terrified her and saved her and made her feel alive. She thought about the gun in her hand, the moment she'd pulled the trigger, the line she'd crossed. And she realized something. She wasn't the same girl who'd walked into Ronan's house desperate and afraid. She was something else now, something forged in violence and fear, and a love she hadn't asked for but couldn't deny. Yeah, she said, I want to find out. Ronan pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Then let's start. Outside, the sun rose over the city. A new day, a clean slate. But Alara knew better. Nothing was ever truly clean. Not after what they'd done. Not after what they'd become. And somewhere in the ashes of the meatpacking plant, Victor Salazar's body cooled, his eyes still open, staring at nothing. The war was over, but the cost was just beginning to show. And Alara Vance, art history student turned killer, stood in the ruins of her old life and wondered if she'd ever find her way back, or if she even wanted to. The first week after Victor died, Alara didn't sleep. She'd lie in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of the gun in her hand, even though it was locked away somewhere in Ronan's office. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Victor's face, the smile, the blood spreading across his chest, the way he'd looked at her like he understood something she didn't. Ronan didn't push. He'd move through the house with his arm in a sling, making calls, cleaning up the mess Victor had left behind. Sometimes she'd catch him watching her with an expression she couldn't read. Concern, maybe, or recognition, like he saw himself in her now. On the 8th night, she found him in his office at 3 a.m, files spread across his desk, a glass of whiskey in his good hand. Can't sleep? She asked from the doorway. He looked up.
Could say the same about you. I keep seeing him. Victor? Yeah. She stepped into the room, sat in the chair across from his desk. Does it get easier? No. That's not comforting. You didn't ask for comfort. You asked for the truth. Ronan set down his glass. The first person I killed, I was 19. He was a loan shark who put my mother in the hospital. I shot him in an alley behind a bar, and I stood there watching him bleed out for 10 minutes before I could move. Ilara's throat tightened. What did you do? I went home. Threw up. Didn't eat for 3 days. He paused. But I didn't regret it. Still don't. He deserved it. Did Victor deserve it? Yes. Then why do I feel like this? Ronan leaned back in his chair. Because you're not like me. You didn't grow up in this world. You had a choice, and you made it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't cost you something. What did it cost you? Everything that mattered. His eyes held hers. Until you. The words hung in the air between them. Ilara's chest felt tight. I don't know how to do this, she said quietly. Do what? Be the person who kills someone and then just keeps living. Goes to breakfast, talks to people, pretends everything's normal. You don't pretend, you just keep moving, one foot in front of the other, and eventually the weight gets lighter. He stood, moved around the desk, sat on the edge in front of her. But it never disappears completely. That's the price. For what? For surviving. She looked up at him, at the scars on his knuckles, the circles under his eyes, the way his shoulders carried tension like armor. Is it worth it? Ask me in a year. What if I can't wait that long? Then ask me now. Is it worth it? Ronan reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Yeah, it is. And despite everything, the blood, the fear, the weight pressing down on her chest, she believed him. The police came on day 10. 2 detectives in cheap suits who asked polite questions about the fire at the meatpacking plant, about Victor Salazar's disappearance, about Ronan's injury. Ronan answered with the smooth precision of someone who'd done this 100 times. An accident. Wrong place, wrong time. No, he didn't know where Victor was. No, he hadn't seen him since the gala. They didn't believe him, but they couldn't prove otherwise. After they left, Ronan made a call. 30 minutes later, a man in an expensive suit showed up. A lawyer who spoke in calm, measured tones about witness statements and alibi construction and how none of this would ever see the inside of a courtroom. Ilara watched from the stairs. This was Ronan's world, clean and efficient, problem solved with money and influence and the kind of power that didn't need to announce itself. She should have been horrified, should have run. Instead, she went downstairs and stood beside him while the lawyer talked. And when Ronan's hand found hers, she squeezed back. Her father left the hospital on day 12. They'd moved him to a private facility for his last week of recovery, somewhere with armed guards and cameras and no way in or out without clearance. When Ilara visited, he looked smaller than she remembered, older, broken in ways that had nothing to do with the physical injuries. I'm going back to rehab, he said. They sat in his room, sunlight streaming through barred windows. Real rehab this time. The kind that takes months, not weeks. Ronan's program? Yeah. Her father looked down at his hands. He came to see me yesterday, said he'd cover the costs, all of it, as long as I actually do the work. Are you going to? I don't know. I want to, but wanting and doing are different things. Ilara reached across the space between them, took his hand. You're going to try. That's all I'm asking. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. He smiled. It was small and sad and the most honest thing she'd seen on his face in years. Your mother would be proud of you. You think? I know. He squeezed her hand. You're stronger than both of us ever were. I don't feel strong. That's how you know it's real. When she left, she cried in the car. Not because he was going away, because for the first time in 6 years she believed he might actually get better. Luca showed up on day 14 with coffee and apologies. They sat in the estate's garden, autumn leaves falling around them, and he looked at her like she was someone he didn't quite recognize. You're different, he said. I know. I don't mean it as a bad thing, just different. I killed someone, Luca. That changes you. He flinched. I'm sorry. I should have protected you better, should have found another way. There was no other way. We both know that. Still, you're my best friend. I brought you into this mess. Alara took a sip of her coffee. It was too hot, burned her tongue. You didn't bring me into anything. I walked in myself. And yeah, it's been hell, but I'm still here. Are you happy? The question caught her off guard. I don't know. Am I supposed to be? I don't know either. Lucas stared at his cup. My brother, he's not easy. You know that, right? He's going to push you, test you, make you question everything. He already does. And you're okay with that? I don't think okay is the right word, but I'm choosing it anyway. She looked at him. Does that make sense? Yeah. Lucas smiled, sad but genuine. Yeah, it does. They sat in silence after that, drinking coffee, watching the leaves fall. Two people who'd been friends when life was simple, trying to figure out how to be friends now that nothing was. The nightmares started on day 16. Alara would wake up gasping, sheets soaked with sweat. Victor's face burned into her retinas. Sometimes Ronan was there, pulling her against his chest, whispering that she was safe. Sometimes she was alone, and she'd sit by the window until dawn, watching the city wake up and wondering if she'd ever feel clean again. On day 20, she found the flash drive. She'd been looking for a book in Ronan's office, something to distract her mind, when she knocked over a stack of files. Papers scattered, and beneath them, a small black USB drive labeled in handwriting she didn't recognize. V. Salazar. Insurance. Her hand shook as she picked it up. She should have put it back, should have asked Ronan, but something stopped her. She plugged it into Ronan's computer. The screen filled with folders, financial records, shipping manifests, photos of meetings between Victor and men in inexpensive suits, and a video file dated 3 weeks before everything went to hell. Alara clicked it. Victor's face filled the screen. He was sitting in what looked like a hotel room, talking to someone off camera. I don't care what it costs, Victor said. Ronan DeLuca thinks he's untouchable. I'm going to prove him wrong, find his weakness, exploit it, destroy him. And if we can't find a weakness? The voice off camera was male, unfamiliar. Then we create one. Victor smiled. Everyone has something they care about. We just need to find out what. The video cut to a photo. Alara, walking out of the university library, alone. Unaware she was being watched. Her stomach dropped. Victor's voice continued over the image. The girl, Alara Vance. Her father owes money to P.D. Costa, who owes me. We use the debt as leverage, scare her, push her toward Ronan, and when he takes the bait, we have our opening. What if she doesn't go to him? She will. People like her always run to the biggest predator when they're cornered. They think power equals safety. Victor laughed. And once she's close to him, we use her to pull him apart piece by piece. The video ended. Alara sat frozen. Her entire body was numb. Everything, her father's debt, the men in the alley, Ronan's offer, all of it had been orchestrated. Victor hadn't stumbled onto her. He'd targeted her specifically, used her like a chess piece. And Ronan had known. The office door opened. Ronan walked in, stopped when he saw her face. You found it, he said quietly. You knew. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You knew Victor set this whole thing up, and you didn't tell me. I didn't know at first. Not until after the gala. Dante found the drive in one of Victor's safe houses. And you kept it from me. I was trying to protect you. By lying? She stood, the flash drive clenched in her fist. By letting me think my father's debt was just bad luck? By making me believe I had any choice in this? You did have a choice. No, I didn't. Victor made sure of that. She threw the drive at him. It bounced off his chest, clattered to the floor. I was bait, Ronan, from the very beginning. And you knew, and you still used me. I saved you. You used me the same way Victor did. You just dressed it up prettier. Ronan's jaw tightened. That's not fair. Fair? She laughed, sharp, bitter. You want to talk about fair? I killed a man for you. I chose you over everything. And the whole time, none of it was real. It was all just pieces on a board. That's not true, isn't it? No. He stepped forward.
Victor might have put you in my path, but what happened after, that was real. Every moment, every choice. You think I planned to fall for you? You think that was part of some strategy? I don't know what to think anymore.
Then think about this. His voice was raw, desperate. I could have walked away. After Victor was dead, after the threat was gone, I could have ended the arrangement, let you go. But I didn't. Because somewhere between the contract and the chaos, you stopped being a tool and started being the only thing that makes this life bearable. Alara's eyes burned. How do I know you're not lying now? You don't. You just have to decide if you trust me. That's not good enough. It's all I've got. They stared at each other across the office. The space between them felt like a canyon. I need time, Alara said finally. How much? I don't know, but I can't be here right now. Ronan nodded slowly. Where will you go? I don't know that either. Alara? Don't. She held up a hand. Don't make this harder than it already is. She walked past him, out of the office, up the stairs to pack a bag. Her hands shook as she threw clothes into a duffel. The ring on her finger caught the light. She tried to take it off, still wouldn't budge. Of course it wouldn't. She left it on. A reminder. A scar. Downstairs, Ronan was waiting by the door. Marcus will drive you wherever you want to go. I can take care of myself. I know, but let me do this anyway. She looked at him, really looked, at the man who'd terrified her and saved her and broken her heart without meaning to. What if I don't come back? Then I'll live with it? His voice was quiet. But I'll wait, for as long as it takes. Why? Because I love you. The words hit her like a punch. She'd known, maybe, felt it in the way he looked at her, touched her, fought for her. But hearing it said out loud made it real, made it impossible to ignore. I don't know if I love you back, she said honestly. I know. I might never know. I know that too. She picked up her bag. Marcus appeared, took it from her. She followed him to the car, didn't look back. But as they drove away, she could see Ronan in the side mirror, standing in the doorway, watching her disappear. She ended up at Luca's apartment, a small place in the city, cluttered with books and empty coffee cups. He opened the door, took one look at her face, and stepped aside. How long? He asked. I don't know. Does Ronan know you're here? Probably. Luca nodded. Okay, guest room's yours. Stay as long as you need. She stayed for 3 weeks, slept on a mattress that was too soft, ate takeout that tasted like cardboard, and tried to figure out who she was without the constant weight of Ronan's world pressing down on her. Luca didn't ask questions, just gave her space. Sometimes they'd watch movies in silence. Sometimes he'd talk about his classes, his friends, the normal things that felt like artifacts from another life. On day 15 of her exile, her father called from rehab. I heard you left, he said. Word travels fast. Ronan came to see me, asked if I'd heard from you. What did you tell him? That you'd call when you were ready. Her father paused. Are you okay, Ellie? I don't know. That's honest, at least. Did he seem... She stopped. Didn't know how to finish the question. Wrecked, her father said. He seemed wrecked, like he'd lost the only thing that mattered. Good. Is it? I don't know that either. Her father sighed. For what it's worth, I think he really does love you. I've seen a lot of men lie in my life. He's not lying about that. How do you know? Because liars don't look the way he looked, like they'd burn the world down just to get one more chance. Alara hung up feeling more confused than before. On day 21, she went to the university, walked through campus like a ghost, past buildings that used to feel like home. She ended up in the art history building, in front of a painting she'd studied her freshman year. Caravaggio's The Calling of St. Matthew, light cutting through darkness, a hand reaching out, a choice being made. She stood there for an hour, just looking. A professor she recognized walked by, stopped. Miss Vance, haven't seen you in class. I've been dealing with some things. I heard. The professor moved beside her, studied the painting. You know what I always loved about this piece? What? The way the light doesn't eliminate the darkness. It just reveals what's already there. And Matthew,
He's not moving toward the light yet. He's just seeing it for the first time, recognizing he has a choice. Does he make the right one? Depends on what you think right means. Does he follow the light and leave everything behind? Or does he stay in the darkness because it's familiar? The professor smiled. Caravaggio doesn't answer that. He just shows the moment. The rest is up to us.
After the professor left, Alara pulled out her phone, stared at Ronan's contact. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She didn't press it, not yet, but she didn't delete it either. On day 28, Luca found her on the couch at 2 a.m, staring at the ceiling. "You need to make a decision," he said. "I know. So what's stopping you?" "Fear." "Of what?" "Of choosing him and losing myself, or choosing myself and losing him. Either way, I lose something." Luca sat beside her. "You know what Ronan told me once, when I asked him how he makes decisions?" "What?" "He said he asks himself what he can live with, not what's right or wrong or fair, just what he can wake up to every morning without wanting to put a gun in his mouth." Luca looked at her. "So what can you live with, Elle?" She thought about it, really thought. Thought about the ring she still couldn't remove, the gun she'd fired, the man she'd killed, the life she'd left behind and the one waiting if she went back. Thought about Ronan standing in the doorway, watching her leave. "I don't know yet," she said, "but I think I'm ready to find out." The next morning she called Marcus. "Can you pick me up?" "Of course, Miss Vance. Where to?" "Holmes." The estate looked the same. Stone and steel and glass, sharp edges against a gray sky. But it felt different. Or maybe she was different. She couldn't tell anymore. Marcus dropped her at the front door. "He's in his office." "Thanks." She walked through the foyer, up the stairs, down the hallway. Every step felt heavier than the last. She knocked. "Come in." Ronan sat at his desk, files spread out like they had been a month ago. But he looked thinner, tired. When he saw her, he stood so fast his chair nearly toppled. "Alara." "Hi." They stared at each other, an ocean of words between them and no idea where to start. "I've been thinking," she said finally. "About?" "About what I can live with." She stepped into the room. "And I can't live with wondering what we could have been if I'd been brave enough to stay. You were brave enough. You just needed to be sure. I'm still not sure about a lot of things, about whether this is healthy or insane or somewhere in between." She stopped in front of his desk. "But I'm sure about one thing." "What's that?" "I love you." The words came out steady, clear. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe that night on the roof. Maybe before. But it's there. And I can't pretend it's not." Ronan moved around the desk, slowly, like she might disappear if he moved too fast. "Say it again." "I love you." He cupped her face in his hands. "I thought I lost you." "You almost did. I'm sorry for the lies, for not telling you about Victor's plan, for all of it. I know. Can you forgive me?" "I'm working on it." She covered his hands with hers. "But I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets, no more half-truths. If we're going to do this, really do this, I need to know everything, the good, the bad, the things that'll make me want to run, all of it. Okay? You promise?" "I promise." She kissed him, soft at first, then harder, desperate, like they were trying to make up for a month of silence in a single moment. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ronan pressed his forehead to hers. "The ring," he said. "You're still wearing it." "Couldn't get it off." "I can have someone—" "No." She looked down at it. The diamond caught the light. "I think I'll keep it, as a reminder." "Of what?" "That I chose this. That I chose you, even when I had every reason not to. And the arrangement? Screw the arrangement." She smiled. "Let's make this real." "You want to actually get married?" "Eventually, maybe, if you ask me properly instead of ordering me." Ronan laughed. Actually laughed. It was the best sound she'd ever heard. Noted. They spent the rest of the day wrapped around each other, making up for lost time. Talking, fighting, laughing, learning how to be two people instead of two pieces on a board. That night, Ronan took her to his office. I want to show you something. He unlocked a drawer, pulled out a key. This opens my private safe, the one where I keep everything that matters. Why are you showing me? Because I meant what I said. No more secrets. He placed the key in her hand. Everything I have is yours, my business, my life, all of it. You want to know something, you ask. You want to see something, you look. No locked doors anymore. Alara stared at the key. It was small, ordinary, but it represented everything she'd been fighting for. Trust, partnership, equality. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for coming back. 3 months later, they had a small ceremony. No press, no spectacle, just family. Her father, sober for 90 days and counting. Luca, standing as best man with tears in his eyes. Dante, who'd flown in from wherever he'd been hiding and brought an absurdly expensive gift. Teresa, who'd made Alara's favorite meal and cried through the entire thing. Alara wore a simple dress, white, but not traditional. Ronan wore a suit. They stood in the estate's garden, autumn leaves falling around them, and said words that meant something this time. No contracts, no arrangements, just two people choosing each other despite every reason not to. When Ronan kissed her, the world felt right for the first time in months. Afterward, they had dinner, laughed, told stories. Her father pulled her aside at one point, hugged her tight. I'm proud of you, he said. For what? For surviving, for choosing to be happy even after everything tried to destroy you. He pulled back, looked at her. You're stronger than I ever was. I learned from the best, she said, and meant it. That night, alone in their room, not a guest room anymore, but theirs, Ronan pulled her close. Any regrets? He asked. Plenty. She traced the scars on his chest. But none about you. Good, because I'm not letting you go. Possessive. Always have been. She smiled. I can live with that. They made love slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world. And maybe they did, or maybe they didn't, but it didn't matter. They'd fought for this, bled for it, killed for it, and now they had it. A year later, Alara stood in the same garden where they'd been married, watching her father play with Luca's dog. He was clean, healthy, working a real job at one of Ronan's legitimate businesses. It wasn't perfect. He still went to meetings twice a week, still struggled some days, but he was trying. Ronan came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? He asked. How far we've come. Yeah? Yeah. She leaned back against him. A year ago I was terrified. Of you, of this life, of who I'd have to become to survive it. And now? Now I'm still terrified. But I'm also happy. Is that crazy? Probably, but so am I. They stood there, watching the afternoon fade into evening. The city glowed in the distance. Somewhere out there, people were making deals and breaking promises and fighting for survival. But here, in this garden, there was peace. Alara thought about the girl she'd been, the one who'd walked through an alley with borrowed textbooks and dreams of beauty. That girl was gone, replaced by someone harder, someone who knew the weight of a gun and the sound of a body hitting the ground. But she was still here, still breathing, still choosing to live instead of just survive. I have something for you, Ronan said. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Velvet, dark blue. If that's another ring, it's not. He opened it. Inside was a key. To my office, the real one, the one I told you about that night. You already gave me access to the safe, not to the room itself. He placed the key in her hand. It's the last locked door, and I want you to have it. Alara looked at the key, then at him. Why now? Because a year ago, I wasn't ready to let anyone that close, but now, he paused. Now I can't imagine keeping you out. She closed her hand around the key, kissed him. Thank you. For what? For letting me in, for waiting, for loving me, even when I didn't make it easy. You're worth the wait. That night she used the key, opened the door to Ronan's private office. The room was smaller than she expected, simpler. A desk, a chair, walls lined with books, and on one wall, a single photograph. Her, taken at the gala, the first one they'd attended together. She was looking away from the camera, caught mid-laugh at something Luca had said. She looked happy, unguarded, real. Ronan appeared in the doorway. I had it framed the next day. Why? Because that was the moment I knew. Knew what? That I was in trouble. That you weren't just a tool or a strategy or a means to an end. He moved beside her, looked at the photo. You were the end, the point, the thing I didn't know I was searching for. Alara's eyes burned. You're going to make me cry. Good. I like knowing I can still affect you. You do. Every day. In ways that terrify me. Right back at you. They stood there in the small room, looking at a photograph of a moment when everything changed, and Alara realized something. This was it. The life she'd fought for. The one she'd killed for. The one she'd chosen over and over again, even when it would have been easier to walk away. It wasn't perfect. It never would be. There would always be shadows. Always be scars. Always be moments when the weight of what they'd done tried to drag them under. But there would also be this. Mornings wrapped in each other's arms. Afternoons in the garden. Nights where they talked until dawn about everything and nothing. There would be love. Messy, complicated, hard-won love. And that, Alara thought, was worth every price she'd paid. 6 months after that, her father relapsed. Called her at 3 a.m, drunk and sobbing. Ronan drove her across the city, waited in the car while she talked him down, helped her get him back to rehab. I'm sorry, her father kept saying. I'm so sorry. I know, Alara said. We'll try again. And they did. Because that's what family did. Even broken, fucked up families who'd been through hell and come out scarred. They tried. 2 years after the wedding, Alara enrolled back in school, finished her degree. Not because she thought it would lead anywhere, but because she'd started something and wanted to see it through. On graduation day, Ronan sat in the audience wearing sunglasses and trying not to look like exactly what he was. Her father sat beside him, 2 years sober this time, clapping so hard his hands turned red. Luca couldn't make it. He was traveling, pursuing his own dreams finally. But he sent flowers and a card that made her cry. After the ceremony, Ronan pulled her aside. I'm proud of you. For finishing college? For not letting this life consume you. For holding on to pieces of who you were. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. For staying you. I'm not the same person I was. No, you're better. That night, they went to the estate. No longer just Ronan's, but theirs, truly theirs, and had a small party. Her father, Teresa, Dante, Marcus, and a handful of people who'd become family somewhere along the way. They ate, drank, told stories. And for a few hours, the past didn't matter. The blood and the violence and the impossible choices faded into background noise. What mattered was this moment, these people, this life they'd built from the wreckage. Late in the evening, Alara found herself alone on the terrace. The city spread out below, lights glittering like broken glass. So much had happened in those streets. So much pain, so much loss, but also so much life. Ronan joined her, handed her a glass of wine. You okay? He asked. Yeah, just thinking. About? About how different everything is. How different I am. Do you miss her? The girl you used to be? Alara thought about it, really thought. Sometimes, when I wake up from nightmares, when I see something beautiful and remember when beauty was enough. She took a sip of wine. But I don't want to go back. That girl wouldn't have survived this. She was too soft, too trusting. And now? Now I'm hard where I need to be, and soft where I choose to be. She looked at him. That's the difference. Choice. Ronan pulled her against his side. They stood there, watching the city, and Alara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of conflict, not the end of struggle, but the quiet acceptance that this was her life, and she'd chosen every piece of it. The good, the bad, the beautiful, and the broken. All of it. 3 years after Victor died, someone tried to fill the power vacuum he'd left. A young guy with too much ambition and not enough sense. He made threats, sent messages, tried to push Ronan out. Alara was the one who handled it. She walked into the guy's office alone, sat across from him, and laid out exactly what would happen if he didn't back down. Her voice was steady. Her eyes were cold. She'd learned from the best. The guy took one look at her and folded. When she got home, Ronan was waiting. "I heard," he said. "And?" "And I'm trying to decide if I should be proud or terrified. Both is good." He laughed, pulled her close. "You're magnificent. You know that? I learned from you." "No, you were always this. I just gave you permission to let it out." That night, they made love with an urgency that surprised them both. Afterwards, lying tangled in sheets, Ronan said, "Do you ever wish things had been different?" "How do you mean? If we'd met some other way, normal way, without all the violence and manipulation." Alara thought about it. "No." "No? Because then we wouldn't be us. We'd be some watered-down version, safe and boring and forgettable." She traced patterns on his chest. "I like us dangerous. I like that we fought for this, that we earned it. Even with everything it cost? Especially because of what it cost." Ronan kissed her forehead. "I love you. I know, I love you too. Even when I'm impossible?" "Especially then." They fell asleep wrapped around each other, two people who'd been forged in fire and come out stronger. 5 years after the night in the alley that changed everything, Alara stood in the same spot. The alley looked different now, cleaner. The broken light had been fixed. New businesses had moved into the old buildings. But she could still see it. The two men. The threats. The moment her old life ended, Ronan stood beside her. "Why did you want to come here?" "To remember." "Remember what?" "How far I've come. How much I've survived." She looked at him. "To remember that I was terrified once, and that terror led me to you." "Are you still terrified?" "Every day. But it's different now." "How?" "Now I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of wasting the life I fought so hard to keep." Ronan took her hand. The ring, the real wedding band now, not the fake engagement prop, caught the streetlight. "You're not wasting anything. Promise?" "Promise." They walked out of the alley together, back to the car, back to the life they'd built. That night, Alara had a dream. She was standing in a museum, looking at a painting. Not Caravaggio this time, something new. A canvas split between darkness and light, chaos and order, violence and beauty. In the dream, someone asked her what it meant. "It means we're all trying to find balance," she said, "between who we were and who we've become, between the darkness that shapes us and the light we choose to follow." "And have you found it?" the voice asked. "Balance?" Alara looked at the painting, at the way the dark and light didn't fight, but complemented each other, two halves of a whole. "Yeah," she said, "I think I have." She woke up before dawn. Ronan was still asleep beside her, one arm thrown across her waist. She watched him breathe, watched the way morning light painted shadows across his face. This man had terrified her, owned her, saved her, loved her. And she'd done the same to him. They'd destroyed each other and rebuilt each other stronger. That was love. Not the fairy tale kind. The real kind. The kind that left scars and demanded everything and gave back just as much. Alara slipped out of bed, went to the window. The estate grounds stretched out below. The garden where they'd married. The driveway where Marcus had driven her away and brought her back. The gates that protected them from a world that wanted to tear them apart. This was her kingdom now. Not a cage. Not a prison. A kingdom she ruled beside a man who'd learned to share power. Ronan appeared behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Can't sleep?" "Just thinking." "About?" "About how I used to study art history and dream about beauty. About how I thought life was supposed to be perfect and clean and full of meaning. And now? Now I know beauty comes from chaos. Meaning comes from struggle. And perfect is just another word for boring." She turned in his arms, looked up at him. "I wouldn't change a thing." "Not even the bad parts?" "Especially not the bad parts. They made the good parts possible." Ronan kissed her, soft, sweet, like they had all the time in the world. And maybe they did, or maybe they didn't. But they had this moment, and the next one, and the one after that. They had each other. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. Years later, when someone asked Alara Vance DeLuca how she'd survived, how she'd gone from terrified student to partner in an empire, she'd smile. I made a choice, she'd say, and then I made another one, and another. And somewhere along the way, the choices stopped being about survival and started being about living. And you don't regret it? They'd ask. Any of it? She'd look at the ring on her finger, at the scars on her hands, at the life she'd built from blood and fear and love. Not for a second. Because that was the truth. The whole complicated, beautiful, terrible truth. Alara Vance had walked into darkness and found light. She'd been broken and rebuilt. She'd killed and been saved. She'd lost herself and found something better. And she'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Because this life, messy and dangerous and absolutely imperfect, was hers. Every scar, every choice, every impossible moment, all of it. And she wouldn't trade it for anything.